I love you. I love you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Give it up for Jason and Heather and this band. And Jason and Heather are two dear friends of mine, and they're such beautiful people. And I love them so much for so many reasons, but one is that they show me that a relationship can happen. I'm batting 1,000 at them not working, and so I'm like, every time I'm like, but there's Jason and Heather. Like there's, every time I go on a date, I'm just like, okay, there is Jason and Heather. Like I need that reference. So I know that they exist. So, but I'm gonna have that forever. I know I'll be 55. Okay, there's Jason and Heather. Okay, I know they exist. They did it. I don't know. So I'm honored to be here for so many reasons. Reverend James is so special to me, a dear friend of mine, and for so many different reasons too. He started out also as a performer, and I've been a stand-up comic for 20 years, and then had a shift, and now I found it much more exciting. Instead of doing a comedy club at night when the audience drunk and ready to laugh, I find comedy in the morning when the opening is singing Grace is much easier. Crowds. People always ask me, what do you want in a crowd? I'm like, sober, thinking I'm at church. That's what the best crowd is. But it's actually going really well. Mad they're not watching football? Can you give me that? I want a crowd that's angry they're not watching football every Sunday morning. So good. Probably there's 5 guys like, oh, is that game on? So this is kind of interesting. You might be watching me going, I don't know what he's going to say, and this will kind of be weird for you. I don't either. I never know what I'm going to say, and if I did, that would have meant that I prepared something for you before, that I wanted to make sure I say the right thing, so that I come out here and say the right thing to you guys. And what would right or wrong mean? It means that you will like me. I did it in a way that I got something from you. And instead, I'm just here to start. And the first way to start is to say, I don't know how this is going to go, and I love that. How much freer are you if you say, I don't know how it's going to go, and I love that? Because we live in a world that if you don't know, the given is that you have to figure out how. So then you think, I got to know how before. So then I got to have every direction down before I take that road trip. But that's not how a GPS works. A GPS says, I'm going to tell you the next direction, and you can't do anything until you do that one thing. And then we'll keep going. So I'm starting by going, I don't know, and I love that. And a lot of times people go, well, what if I screw up? What does that mean? What if I do something and they don't like me? Because I'm under the illusion that who I am is what you think about me. But the truth is, a line from a movie, I love the movie Adaptation, is you are what you love, not what loves you. And if you go to your childhood state, all we did was play. We were what we loved doing. We knew what we were going to be when we grew up, and it was amazing visions, too. I was going to be Superman or the president, right? Now, apparently, anyone can be president. But back then, I was going to do it. And then they're like, no, you're too qualified. So instead, I just knew what I wanted to be, and I just did what I wanted to do. When you were a kid, all you did was play, and that's your natural state. And as time goes on, society turns you into a consumer. There's a lot of money to be made in you not knowing how amazing you are. So the news has to scare you all day. And they scare you with the same topic I just talked about running for president. They just keep scaring you with that. And the news just shows you the scariest story all the time and creates the illusion that this world is completely horrifying. And it doesn't show you the good things. Do you know how not scared of flying we would be if they just showed us the 30,000 flights a day that made it? With the same breaking news intensity. Every single time a plane lands, that's news. They should interrupt whatever show you're watching immediately. Every time a plane lands, 30,000 flights a day, take off and land. That's way more amazing to me than the planes that didn't make it. I think that every time it lands, they should interview every person as they're getting off the plane. And they're like, how was it? And you're like, they're like, it was nice. I had a nice flight. And you're like, he's like, this is Diane. I met her on the flight. And you're like, I think I want to try flying, And then they are coming up, a family that lived totally safely last night. And you're like, wow. It's crazy. And then the news does that, and then they act like they were a friend the entire time. They just show you horrifying stories and then run Prozac commercials. Like, they just tell you the most horrifying stories, and then, are you scared, tired, social anxiety? Yeah, because you did it. And they show you these pills that list all the side effects in the commercials. Isn't that weird? It'll be like a commercial for cold sores. It's not for cold. That'd be weird if it was for cold sores. You want to get cold sores? Come to my house. No, it's a pill that stops cold sores, and they're showing these people, and they're rock climbing and sailboarding, and I'm going, man, I wish I had cold sores. You get to do so much fun stuff when you have cold sores. And then I got them, and it's nothing like that at all. It just burns here sometimes, which is kind of summery, I guess, if that's their point. But the news, that's the world they want us to live in. The news wants us to just be scared and then run these commercials for these pills, and they list all these rules that totally negate the beginning of the commercial, right? Have you ever heard a car commercial on the radio? It'll be this first guy who's like, come on out and buy a new Ford. There's no catch. Joe's Trucks, there's no catch. The no catchiest trucks around. Must be 18 to buy. All vehicles subject to prior sale. All vehicles subject to tax and license. Price not include tax and license or the price of the car. Commercial rebate available. First payment due 120 days from delivery. Please no flash photography. Mileage may vary. No purchase necessary. My other car is a Porsche. Store new cool dry place. When Cooper browser would rather be golfing. Amen. I'm like, what kind of car is it? I don't even know. And they just show you these things, and we're just put in this world to believe that we're not what we were when we were kids, and it's just a lie, and your natural state is that you are that kid, and all we have to do is just show up and stay in the room. That's all you have to do. Because you're here, and I'm contractually and spiritually obligated to stay on the stage for what James said is 20 minutes, and to me means 40, is no, he said 30 is cool. He said 30's. He said 30 is cool, but time's not real, so we're going till Thursday. So, but because I get to stay on the stage, more and more clarity is going to come through me as I just stay in the room. More and more truth is going to come, because as I started, what happened is I started realizing this is working, and the more I realize it's working, the more my nervous system lets go and trusts and says you can keep going. And now my scared part that's trying to get something from you is slowly leaving, and more I'm getting out of the way, and I'm just starting, and I'm just playing and staying in the room. And that's what happens. And that happens with when you meditate. If you just sit all the time, when you sit, this is how I wake up every morning. I sit for 2 hours a day every morning before I start anything, except for today, so this could be a terrible show. But every morning I wake up, right, and I sit. Because most people don't do that. A lot of us, what we do is we watch the news so we can immediately get into a place of lack and start our day from a place of addiction and lack, because you wake up totally complete. And then you're scared that everything's fine. So you're like, I better check Facebook in my bed. So you pull your cell phone and you look through Facebook, and some of you might have Facebook, some of you might not. But if you don't have it, then you're watching the news. There's always a way to just get back into our lack place. But you can always feel lack when you go on Facebook, because every day I'm like, why is my brother friends with my ex? So so the world has all these ways to keeping you in the illusion of lack. And when I wake up, I sit and I just start, right? And I hear my thought. I watch the show. You know, we Google everything and we research stuff externally. We never research internally. It's so fascinating. With weight loss, for instance, there is an argument for both ways to everything. It's like, you should work out every day. No, that's overtraining. Work out every other day. Don't eat this, only eat this. You will find an argument that opposes itself. And the real way to actually find the answer is to not Google externally, because those are other people's experiences that cause them to evolve in that moment, and they're falsely or they're falsely crediting the method that they use, but the truth was they were just evolving. So they think this way works, but it's really just they were evolving. So what I do is I have to evolve constantly, because we're always evolving. What does a caterpillar have to do to become a butterfly? Nothing. Nothing. Just stop getting in the way of it. It's almost like we were all born with a giant cut on our arm, and everyone around you has that cut on your arm, and you're trying to fix it like this. Like, why isn't it healing? Because you keep doing this. Why isn't it healing? It wants to heal. You're like 10 days away from totally being healed in your body, in your soul, in your spirit. But the world keeps throwing you all these things that get you to do this. And if everyone around you had the cut, you'd be scared to actually connect to yourself. You'd be scared to let it heal. So when I start, I just sit at the edge of my bed and I watch as the old story of my childhood just starts talking. I'll sit at the edge of my bed and this voice will show up. How long are we doing this? 2 hours? Now who's talking? It's just a thought. That's not you. You're the space that the thought's in. So the voice shows up, I can't do this for 2 hours. Now, if I go, you're right, and I get up, then the thought won. I'm my limitation. The thought proved to me that, and because I'm under the illusion that I'll die if I keep sitting. Isn't it weird to you? We're scared to sit? Isn't that weird that we're scared? Think about that. We're scared to sit. Like that people would rather hurt other people, put down other people, go to war than just face themselves for 20 minutes. This is the most amazing way to change the world, is by actually allowing yourself to connect to yourself and become a space of love that raises the awareness higher and higher and higher so that you can prove to people that are in a state of control and fear and all that stuff that there's a space of euphoria that's higher than controlling other people or hoarding as much money as possible or being that way. That's the only way we're going to change it, is by becoming it. So every morning I wake up and I sit and I watch these voices show up and goes, you can't do this. And then I just keep loving it. Yeah, we can't do this. And eventually, these feelings start to leave because I love them. It's not your thought that's bothering you. It's your resistance to the thought. It's you thinking that thought shouldn't be there. But what that thought is you, when you were a little kid, trying to get love from your parents. And you think you can't do that. Imagine if each one of us went to another planet right now, and we were raised by two 20-foot-tall aliens for 20 years. Each one of us got assigned two 20-foot tall. They don't speak English. We don't know anything what they want. One of them comes home drunk. And you're like, okay, around that one, I better be quiet. I better not talk out or I'll get hurt. Okay, so you protect yourself. And then this other one loves it when you tap dance. If you just tap dance, it's like, oh, I'll give you love. So for 20 years, you start to learn, I better be quiet and I better tap dance and then everyone will love me. And then for 20 years, you go through this, and then you go out to the rest of the planet, and you see all these new aliens, and you're tap dancing, and they're like, I hate tap dancing. And you're not speaking out because you think you'll get hurt, because that's how you were trained. That's what the ego is. It's this false teaching, because remember, our parents went through terrible stuff growing up too, and their parents went through stuff, and you go back generations. You go back 5, 6, 7, 8 generations, you're in the Great Depression and slavery. You go back 25, you're in Viking times, right? That's how they were teaching their kids that thing, and it just kept going down the line. So that's what we learned, but we're really just this space of this moment. And if you understand you're just this moment, then you and me and Oprah and a homeless person are all the same infinite potential. We're just heart, eyes, lungs, and everything. But if you think who you are is your past story, then anything that's trying to come at you that's bigger than that, you will sabotage, because it's death to your old story. If you're someone who thinks who you are is someone who makes $40,000 a year, and someone offers you $1 million, that's death to your old story, so you're going to sabotage it. If you're someone who thinks who I am is someone who weighs 400 pounds, then if someone tries to offer you help, you will sabotage it, because you've trained yourself that you get love for being a victim, for being an addict, for being this way. But you're just this moment. And if you realize you're just this moment and you actually do the practice, people always say to me when I sit and I allow this 2 hours a day to go by, people go, how do you have time to do that? And I always go, how do you have time to not? Because what happens is when I start to connect with myself, the unworthy story of me leaves, so I stop making decisions to fix problems that don't really exist all day, and I have so much more time. Because our ego is we're always evolving, so our ego has to actually sabotage something so you can feel like you overcame it and come back up to this moment again. So if you stop sabotaging it, because sometimes I'll be about to go on stage, and our ego is very creative. Isn't it creative? Your ego will come up with the most creative way to sabotage something. You'll be on your way to a job interview, and out of nowhere, the voice will go, what if you throw up on his desk? That's brilliant. If you have anxiety, you're a genius. You understand that, right? If you're going through negative thoughts, you're a genius. You're just not steering your ship. If you don't keep constantly creating, your mind will creatively sabotage you out of boredom. But so your mind will come up with something. It's like, I got to come up with something wrong. What if I throw up on his desk? And now you have something you can fix. And then you can come back up to the same level of what you thought you were, because you think who you are is your past, this linear story. So you want to still feel like you're overcoming something, so you have to sabotage it so you can keep bringing it back up to this level. We're like a helium balloon that's always trying to go up. I don't even believe in motivation. Motivation is when you're in this belief of a limited state and you're saying, I'm going to get that thing, and I'm going to work really hard to get that thing. Because one of the biggest illusions in our life is when something happens, I'll be happy. And you have 10,000 examples of your past of how many times you think, when something happens, I'll be happy. When I finally date that person, when I get the job, when I let go of this thing, I'll be happy. And then you got it, and you were immediately like, what's next? You were almost addicted to the thing. If that's your source of happiness, then you're going to hold on to it pretty tight, because it better not leave, because that's your source of happiness. So I don't believe in when something happens, I'll be happy. I believe it's when I'm happy, things will happen. And by happy, I mean accepting yourself in all of your emotions. One of the biggest ways to sell us stuff that we totally didn't need is to make us think it's not okay to be sad. Crying is an amazing, amazing thing. And it's just as important as being happy. It's just as important as laughing. In fact, I believe crying and laughing are the same thing, because both of them make tears come out of your eyes. Both things are, you think life is this way, and then something happens right outside of that circle. And when it happens, your body needs to physically adjust to fit that in, right? So you think life is this way, and then something funny happens, and now your body has to go, like it actually has to, like I physically have to change because I've never seen that before, and now your circle's like this, right? And that's why the second time you hear that joke, you don't laugh. Because now it's like this. That's why it becomes that you had to be there moment. Because now I can't find what was funny about it. Because the real thing wasn't the joke that was funny, it was that I was in the moment and I evolved. Sadness is the same thing, right? You have this thing happening, and when you cry, it's like you're letting go of a part of that childhood story that wanted to get love from your parents, and you're now being the space of love that your parents weren't able to be because they didn't know what we're figuring out right now. And so you can be the space of love for the childhood you, so it can leave. So you're the space of love for yourself. So when I meditate, I hear all these thoughts like, I'm scared, and I go, and I love that. I'm worried they won't like me. Cool. What if I throw up on the desk? Awesome. How much power is there in the idea of, instead of thinking, I hope I don't screw this up, thinking, I hope I screw this up? I'm on the stage right now, and if I'm like, what if I screw up? The problem is my resistance to screwing up. But if I go, I hope I screw this up, I have total freedom. I get to be all of me, because I'm not saying that I'm who I am is what you think of me. I am what I want to be. I am what I love to be. And another way that I do this, another thing that's so important, is that every decision I make, I've noticed now, this is really important, I move only towards, this is my deciding factor for everything. I don't have a pros and cons list or think, how much does it cost or anything like that. I move this way. I go, does it make me feel lighter or heavier? Every decision. Every decision I make. We have friends that there's some friends you can think of probably that you could not talk to for 2 years, and the second you call them, they'll be right there. They'll love each other. This is Jason and Heather and I. These are some of my best friends, even though we haven't spoken in a year. Because I know the vibration we meet at, and I know that we just love each other, so there's a lightness to them. And then there's other friends you have that you better call them immediately or you're going to be in trouble. Right? That's a heavy feeling. But we're so addicted to being in the heavy feeling that we keep choosing the heavy thing and ignoring the amazing light things that are available right here, right now. So what I do is I ask myself, what's a light decision? And I move towards it. And then I let go of everything that's heavy. People go, well, I'd love to, but I got to make money. You're staying in a job you don't like, so you're making money more important than the feeling, and you don't know how much money that's costing you. You have no idea how much money you're losing by staying in a job that you don't like, even if it pays 10 grand an hour. Because what you're capable of and what you are is worth so much more money than that. And not that that matters, but I'm saying that because most people say money doesn't matter, and then they totally keep jobs that they hate, so they make money their priority. If you don't like your job, if you're not happy, you're in an argument with your calling. There's a voice in us. There's two voices. There's the first voice that shows up and it goes, we always have it. There's two voices. There's a voice in your body that goes, we should leave this company right now. Or we should ask that person out. Or what if I just went to Italy tomorrow? That feeling. Do you know what I'm talking about? That you should start that band. Or you should go away to Monterey and write that book. That voice that just shows up. It can't tell you why because you've never done it. But that feeling is a preview. That feeling, you feel it in your body. That feeling is a preview. It's saying, just so you know, that feeling you're feeling, when you go do it, you'll always feel this way. So you start to feel this expansion, and then your mind shows up because you've trained yourself to listen to this and not this. And your mind shows up, and it comes up with the reason why you shouldn't. And it is always the stupidest reason. You're like, we should leave this company. Yeah, but if we do, we can't go to the Cheesecake Factory party next Thursday. And the first voice is like, can't tell you this, but it's like, dude, if you learn to listen to me, you'll own all the Cheesecake Factories in a month, and you could make them all vegan if you wanted. And the second voice is like, I know, but they have those Thai lettuce wraps, and I'm really going to want that, and it's covered. It'd save $10 if I stay in this job I hate for... Anyone who's ever stayed in a relationship that you didn't want to be in because eventually you guys were going to go camping knows what I'm talking about. Right now is when so many relationships that don't want to exist start sticking because they're like, well, we got to make it to Thanksgiving. So I'm going to stay with this person I'm not happy with until Thanksgiving and then not like them there. Oh, fun. So there's a voice in us that's always telling us what to do. And what we don't understand is that you have this voice show up and it's going in here, and then this voice show up and goes, here's why you can't. And whichever one you honor, the other one goes away. So the first thing goes, if you do that leap, if you start that band, if you write that book, if you do that, you'll feel this. And then this goes away when you say yes to it. This is actually what faith is. You understand that that feeling is actually a thing, because we hear a lot of times just words like universe and do this, and we understand we're trusted, and then we completely act against what we just learned. People always make the sign outside of them. They always say, I'm looking for a sign. People come up to me and they go, I want to divorce my husband, but I'm looking for a sign. I go, the fact you want to divorce him is the sign. Don't wait till you drive by Divorce Your Husband Avenue. Like, the feeling is a legit sign. And even then, you'll ignore it. You'll go, that's probably not it. It could be like, Stephanie, leave your husband drive. And you'll be like, no, that's not it. You're picking and choosing your signs, and you're trying to make things work. We love to do this, us universe people. There's two things us people that go to these spiritual centers love to do. One is change our name to like Rainbow Maca Sunshine and stop shaving our armpits, right? So, like, and give people the long stare. You know, the long stare? You'll see it at it's awesome. There's just always someone that you'll say something. No matter what you say, they have this way of looking at you and letting you know how much they heard you, as if you just said the I have a dream speech. Like, you'll be like, I gotta go pee. And they'll be like, Thank you. And you're like, did you even hear me? I don't know if you... And they'll go, I'm so intuitive, and I want you to know your great-grandpa is talking to me right now and wants you to know. And I'm like, if you're intuitive, you'd see I'm trying to leave. So I'm physically in front of you trying to go. So there's this... I love you for having this sense of humor, because life is also funny. Combining comedy and transformation has been the most fun thing in the world for me, because in comedy, I used to work in comedy clubs, and it was also making fun of things. And there can be a cynicism with that I don't want to have, the same type of cynicism that exists in that a lot. And then in transformation, we're fine with everything. So for a while, I felt like I didn't have a home, because you're okay with everything. So like both me's would show up for a while. It would be like, don't you hate when someone cuts you off on the freeway? But they're supposed to, because they did. And I can't find, I can't find a voice here. So when you listen to that feeling and then act on the feeling, you start to be in the practice of co-creating with the moment. It's like having a GPS in you, but remember, the GPS can only tell you the next turn, and a GPS would be crazy if it told you all of the turns right now and you had to memorize it. How unfun would a road trip be? Remember MapQuest days? When it would tell you all the directions and you'd look at this thing and be like, that sounds way too far. But if you have a GPS and it doesn't show you the whole thing, you just go next step, and then when you make that one turn, it'll give you the next step after that, once you make the next turn. Because when you listen to this calling, you start to become a better sensor of this calling. And every decision you make will be, do I feel lighter or heavier? What do you think that lightness is? You're moving more and more into this moment. You're moving more and more into what you are. If you move into something that feels heavy, you're moving more and more into ignoring what you are, into your past, into your old story. So when you think to yourself, I really want to do that, don't let that but part stop you. That yeah, but thing. Your yeah, but is the reason you have to do it. You'll be like, I want to go become amazing. I can't, though, because I have a kid. Maybe your kid is the reason you need to step into your amazingness, so they have permission to be amazing, too. I want to go away for a month, but I can't because I can't afford it. Maybe you can't afford it because you haven't been connecting yourself, asking yourself, what are all of your skills and talents that you haven't brought to the world yet that are worth millions of dollars? And this feeling is telling you, when you do that, you will connect more and more to yourself in this moment, and you will become a giant antenna, because when you're in your head, your antenna is just here. Your antenna is only based on what you've seen so far. But when you connect to your body, your entire body becomes the antenna. And this became, for me, the most important thing in the world, and my entire life has wall-to-wall changed. I know I'm safe in every moment. I know the decision I'm making is right. It's just feeling that moment and feeling that thing in your body and then stepping into it. And play. Play a lot more. Let yourself let go and play and just allow yourself to go do something that's fun and stop being in that habit of, I can't, I got to be practical because I'm an adult. You're still in your childhood. No matter how old you are, you're still in your childhood. How freeing is that? How long have I done? Is it like Wednesday right now? I don't know. Just curious on time what I have. It's 11:20. When did I start? I don't know. Okay, great. So we'll just keep going. I learned this because I found at the height of my comedy career, I was saying to myself, okay, even though I love doing stand-up comedy, I was a headlining comic, and when I made these new decisions, I was at the height of my comedy career, doing really big theaters and stuff, and it was amazing, and something in me said, I know that I'm worth more than even this. So we were making a documentary at the time, and I looked into the camera, and just out of feeling, without knowing the specifics of the other side, I looked into the camera and I said, I'm officially done doing comedy clubs on the road. I'm done doing comedy clubs. And then the next week, I felt this lightness right when I said that. And I didn't even know what it was going to be. But the following week, I started getting in my alignment. And because I wasn't going to a comedy club, I started going, okay, so what do I love to do? I love comedy and I love transformation. What if I combine that? And then my mind went, well, no one's ever done that. And my soul went, no one's ever done that. What if you created your own field and you did something that's more in demand, and companies could have you make their team laugh, and schools could have you come and do the lecture circuit, and you have literally no competition? Not that that's even a thing, but you create your own field. All of a sudden, you're in much more demand, and I started going, I'm in. And I said yes to it. And then that week, I started making videos for different college bookers that had the lecture circuit at different colleges. I made 500 videos for each booker by name. This was crazy. For a week, I looked into a camera and I said, hi, this is a message for Diane Johnson at North Idaho University. My name's Kyle Cease. I performed stand-up. I'd love to come do the lecture circuit at your school. And then I made another one, and then another one. I made 500 that week. And all my friends said, are you crazy? Like, you could be doing a comedy club right now. Well, the following week, 100 of those schools booked me at 5 times what my week rate was to do a comedy club, to go do one college. And I want you to know, I don't say this like, look how rich it became. I want you to know what I didn't understand is when you're scared to let go of something, the only reason you're scared is your mind can measure what you will lose. It can't measure what you will gain. So if you're in a situation you don't want to be in, your mind is focusing on the loss of this versus what you're creating in the space. I loved that Jason was talking about the space that's already here and you being willing to receive. Because all the time when people hear this, they always say, I got to get in the moment more. You are the moment. The second you said, I got to get in the moment, you made the moment over here. It's this thing to become or achieve. You are the moment. People go, I got to love myself more. You are love. The second you said that, you pushed love away so that your ego could feel like it achieved love, but all you are is love. Even when you think you're not love, you're totally love. So instead of thinking, I got to do this and I got to get here, your job is to understand you are there. And the voice will show up, the ego voice. Even an achieving ego voice will show up and it'll go, so how do I get there? That voice that said, how do I get there? Love it. Don't cater to it. How do I get there? I love you, because that's the small you talking. It thinks it's going to get more in the moment. You are the moment. So the practice instead becomes loving all the parts of you that are scared. Sitting up, and even if it's for 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, sitting up and hearing these voices go, I don't know what I'm doing. I can't believe I'm just sitting here. I should check Facebook right now. I got to do this, and loving it, loving it, loving it. Just being a space of love while this stuff comes up. Because as you love it, it will leave, and you will start to discover you are more and more and more this moment. You're always this moment, but you will start to get to experience that you're more and more this moment. Even when you're in your fear of the past and future, you're in this moment, coming up with a vision of your past, and then you're resisting it, which creates the illusion that it's happening right now. So you walk around this moment going, ugh, thinking of that thing, and you're possessed by your mind only because you're in resistance to it. But if you let these thoughts happen and show up and you go, and I love that, and I love that, I don't, that one time that guy yelled at me, that time I did that wrong thing, and I love that. Everything that happened, happened. So we just have the choice of accepting it or resisting it. That's all you have. If you get anything from this, here's the best thing I could tell you. The biggest reason we stress is we try to control things we can't control, and we don't control what we can. We try to control things we can't control. We try to control who's going to win the presidency. There are people all over the world right now pacing in their house, since a year ago, going, ugh, Trump! This thing I'm going to do, that's my contribution, just being mad about. Or Hillary! Ah! The only thing you can control is what you're going to do on election day. You have to put an hour or two in, unless it's a repressed voting area, then you have to put 5 or 6 hours. But that's what you can control. Or you can control if you're an activist about it. But we love to be addicted to trying to control what we can't control. People love to get mad about a football game. They can't control that. There are people at their houses right now yelling at their TV screens, going, oh, come on, oh! Imagine if that TV wasn't there. You're just giving yourself an ulcer at your house. Oh, pass the ball! That's you. That's what we're doing. We can't control what this group of men, not really from that city, did against this group of men. And then we love to say we won or we lost. People leave a football game watching it on TV going, we won or we lost. If you had to pay to watch it, you were not a part of that we. That's like going to watch the movie Titanic, leaving and going, we drowned. We drowned, all of us. So everything that I've said today, everything that came through without me knowing it was going to come through. On my life, I didn't sit there and think, I know I'll say this, I'll say this. Because had I done that, I would have gotten in the way of what the universe wanted to say through me. And my job and my practice is to let what's happening happen. And the only reason you're stressing is you've decided that thing that's happening shouldn't have happened, but you can't see the entire picture. You can't see how many new people got to meet the loves of their lives because it caused you to leave 1 minute later and get into a store and get someone in a line just long enough to have a totally different life, right? If we wait 10 seconds and leave here, different cars are going to go through traffic at different times and people are going to meet different people. There's an entire world happening that we don't understand are all happening in accordance with the things that are happening that we and our egoic selves think shouldn't be happening. Are you getting me on that? It was kind of cool and confusing and weird at the same time, but We got to understand that there's a bigger picture happening and just sit there and go, and I love that, and trust it. And then you'll start to move like the universe moves. You'll start to move like a place of love. You'll start to go, does this make the world better or worse? Does it make every decision you make isn't, I want that thing for me. It's, does it make consciousness higher? Does it make the awareness grow? Would I be a better person if I dated that person? Or is this person just something that I can say, look what I got, everybody? Right? Would I become stronger? Would it make me feel lighter? Would it help me let go of my old patterns? Would it let me go of my old stories with my parents? Would I move into my greatness? Because I promise you are so unbelievably infinite. You are so unbelievably infinite. And you have this choice right now when your mind goes, yeah, well, I'm not. That's your mind going into the past and looking for evidence to disprove that so that you can keep that limitation that you're addicted to. You don't have any limitations at all. You're just addicted to them. So right when I go, you're infinite, immediately the mind goes, we are not, look at this past. Well, your mind didn't know what you're learning right now. So in the past, you didn't know those things. So, and now you have the ability to go, I just gave you all this information, I gave you an idea. To happen, and now we have twice the sound. So, see, this was what your mind would have said is a mistake if you had expectations. Realize no one has ever broken your heart. They've broken your expectations. And in breaking your expectations, they got you closer to your heart. So this was supposed to happen. Byron Katie would say, I know, because it did. And immediately, I got a laugh out of it by going with it. Everything in your life that seems like it's going off, just go with it. Just love it. That's supposed to be happening. That should be the only thing you're aiming for. I love that. And you will find in loving your fears, in falling in love with, I hope I screw this up, and loving your fears, that that's actually the access point to completely changing the world. You will be the most infinite, incredible being you can be by falling in love with every single fear, letting it come up, your pain, your anger, your sadness, and going, and I love that. You can feel sad. And the second you start to let it feel sad, it'll leave. Really quickly. Crying isn't painful. Resisting crying is painful. Looking crying in the eye is so fulfilling. It is so fun. It's a releasing. Laughing is a releasing. Let yourself laugh. Life is hilarious. Let yourself cry. Life is sad, and that's a good thing. Let yourself play. Let yourself love, and decide today that you're going to actually listen to your body. Decide today that you're just today. You can go back to hating life tomorrow. But if you want, today, ask yourself what you want to do versus what you think you should do so you can get love. What do you want to do? If you go to a car lot, don't go, well, the pros and cons are this. Go, do I love this car? That feeling's all I need. If you go, do I want to hang with that person? That's all I need. Don't bring in the why you should. If you're justifying keeping anything in your life, that means you're keeping your mind happy, not your body. If you're justifying, well, I like this job does have good medical. That's your mind coming up with a reason, but there's things in your life you don't have to justify. You'll never hear Jason or Heather go, well, the other person I'm married to is good because, he does give me back rubs. You'll never hear that because the things that are perfect in your alignment, you never have to justify. You only have to justify something if you feel something in your body, you ignore it, and now you're arguing with yourself, and then you need to get connection with someone else by telling them about the thing that you're arguing with and watching them nod at you so you can feel connection with that person because you're ignoring your calling. Your calling is a legitimate thing. On my life has changed completely from listening to it. And I'm just so in love with this audience. I'm so in love with how welcoming you were, because at first I was like, I'm going to be like a substitute teacher. You're all like, where's James? And I'm like, I'm sorry, And you kept your heart open, and you stayed in the unknowing, and I felt as I walked up here, I'm like, oh, they still love me. They're not upset that I'm not James. So if James is streaming, but... So, I say that because James is one of my most dearest friends ever, and he's another person that I see once a year, but when we do, I'm like, I leave feeling so much love for myself. And you're with the right person when you leave, you love yourself more. They can help you love yourself more. I know that you two do that for each other because you do that for me. Every time I leave, I feel so much more connected to my soul. So you must always be doing that for each other, and that's beautiful. And I'm so thankful that you guys let me feel more expanded by being such a space for me and letting me express things that in the past many people didn't want to hear and didn't let me because they were scared of their limitations and leaving that. And you guys were just a space of love for me, and it's just an honor to be with you this morning. And I'm so thankful for you. Oh, and I have, by the way, I have an event, I should mention real quick, I have an event called Evolving Out Loud that I do. It's a 2-day event we do in Glendale at the Alex Theater. It's 1,400 seats, and it's always sold out. And the public comes, it literally starts at 10 a.m. and goes till 7 p.m. both days. And the audience just starts letting go of their stories and moving into a whole new world. And I call it Evolving Out Loud because I say, have you ever given someone advice and then you learned from the advice? Have you ever had someone ask you a question and you gave them advice that wasn't even what they're asking? They're just like, I got a stomach ache, and you're like, I think you should break up with her. They're going, I'm single. So if there's a you that can give that advice and a you that learned from it, that means there's two yous. So Evolving Out Loud is me showing up and starting and not knowing what I'm going to say, and I literally coach myself out loud for 2 days through the audience, and the byproduct is the audience completely shifts. And tickets for the public are like $199 and up, but if anyone here wants to come, you can go to evolvingoutloud.com and come for $99 for 2 full days. And it is life-changing. And the code word to do that is grandma. If you go to Evolving Out Loud, sign up for the event, and type in grandma, you'll get $99 tickets. But come, because it's the most amazing thing you'll ever experience. And remember, with every leap ever, that feeling is the thing. And if you feel it, remember, the only reason you're scared is your mind can measure what you will lose, and it can't measure what you will gain. And I'll also be in the back. I have CDs and DVDs and stuff like that I'd love to sign and meet everyone here. And I love you guys. It was an honor to be here. Thank you so much for being here and being with me and living in your heart. Thank you so much. Thank you.